Hello, it's Michelle Morand here. Today I want to talk with you about how to deal with self-criticism, just how to stop it altogether, how to change the way that you speak to yourself, treat yourself, talk to yourself, and what you feel you're deserving of, okay? So the fastest way to do that, and I've been helping people to overcome binge eating disorder, orthorexia, anorexia, all the different eating disorders, drug addiction, alcohol, other substances, chronic relationship problems, depression, anxiety, trauma, all that stuff for 30 years now. So I've helped a lot of people with a lot of different issues, and this tool works across the board. Okay? It's two simple questions. When you hear yourself putting yourself down, which right now might be hard to do because that voice might be there 24/7. It might feel like there's no separation at all between you and that voice in the back of your head that's constantly telling you what you're doing wrong or what you have to do or how you can't rest because you haven't earned the right yet or any or all of the above. It might be very hard to separate those two, but this exercise will help you to do that. And it will help you to gain control of that voice in the back of your head. And it will help you teach it how to communicate with you in a way that really does help. Okay? Because what we now know without a doubt is that trying to motivate someone to do something through criticism is a failed idea. It might be how you were raised. It might be how people thought things should be done years ago or back in your childhood. But we understand now. It is not a model of any functional teaching whatsoever, and it is certainly not a model for good self-esteem and for you behaving in such a way that motivates you to feel good and take good care of yourself. So while you may have come by the concept of motivation through criticism honestly by other people doing that to you or that being modeled around you, and again, even in society, not very long ago, that was a very common phenomenon. In fact, there's some reality TV shows that may still be running now that are very much about motivation through criticism, but they don't create lasting change. And frankly, I think you probably know that on some level because you've probably been pretty hard on yourself for a while. And I think if it worked as a motivational strategy, you'd be where you want to be by now. So let's talk about what to do differently, okay? We've just talked about what not to do, which is to speak negatively to yourself, put yourself down. In fact, when we think about um, the brain and how it works, what we know through neuroscience and through philosophy and the combination of the two is that there are some very common biases or kind of super highways of thought that human beings have. They're kind of little shortcuts that our instinctive brain takes to help to get us from something that's happening right now to a decision or a reaction, rather than having to stop and really reflect on what's actually happening and reason. You can think of it as kind of like brushing your teeth or going to the bathroom or walking or breathing. These are things that you need to do them, and because you've done them so many times and your brain is just so familiar with them, you're often probably doing these things without really thinking about what you're actually doing. These biases are very much the same, where because we've been taught a certain thing, racism is a bias, for example, where historically a lot of people were told that where somebody came from or the color of their skin somehow made them less worthwhile as a human being, which of course is total bullshit, but that's what people believed because that's the bias that they were trained to have. And when we have that automatic bias from the start of our upbringing, what we get into trouble because our brain doesn't actually prompt us to question that bias. It's just a given, like I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to breathe out, and I don't really need to think about it. So you will have a whole bunch of biases that you don't know you have. Yes, you do, even if you're supremely conscious. It's the nature of the brain. We all have them. What we can do is we can teach ourselves to learn how to pay attention to certain sensations and cues in our body that help us to understand when we're making these assumptions or when these biases are starting to run, so that we can stop, Pay attention to what's actually going on and decide if that bias is still appropriate for today, for you right now, and what you're wanting to achieve and what you're capable of now with the power you have in your life and the brain that you have and all the stuff. For you to be able to stop and ask yourself, does this make sense? You could think of a bias as kind of a cognitive habit. So, in the same way that we might come home from work and go straight to the fridge and start eating, even if we're not really hungry, or something I used to do a lot, which was basically eat a whole meal while I was preparing my dinner, very unconscious. It's just what would happen. Um, and then, of course, I'd get down on myself and tell myself I still had to eat my meal because it was more nutritious, and the whole night would go sideways. Maybe you can relate, but um, that's what happens with these biases, is they start us down a path that isn't necessarily true at all, let alone relevant or appropriate or the best response to this moment. But because it's so automatic, we've been doing it for so long, we don't even know it. We might feel a little unsettled. We might not feel entirely present or on side with what we're doing, but it's such an unconscious automatic process, we don't even stop to question it. So the best way to start to become more aware of this pattern and to deal with the negative self chatter in your head is to pick a couple of behaviors that you'd like to be on the lookout for, particularly things you'd like to change. Now, it might be something like procrastinating about doing something. It might be eating when you're not hungry. It might be eating at certain times of day or something like that. But pick a couple of behaviors that if I were to say, if you could wave a magic wand and not have these problems anymore, what problems would you get rid of? So whatever 2 or 3 come to mind, those are the ones I want you to be on the lookout for. And whenever you notice those things happening around you, or just even you're thinking about those things, maybe they happened last night and you're reflecting on that, or you're worried about it happening tonight and you're reflecting on that, I want you to stop and I want you to just pay attention to what you're telling yourself. What are you hearing in your head about what you're going to do or what you've done? So it might be something like, oh, you ate last night again, uh, um, or why did you say that thing? Everybody's looking at you like you have 2 heads. Whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is your intention in saying that? What is your intention in saying that? Another way of asking that question is, what am I trying to achieve in saying that? You can kind of imagine that you're asking it of that voice in the back of your head, remembering that who you are as an adult, certainly once you reach the age of your early to mid 20s and your prefrontal cortex is fully formed, you have the capacity for big picture thinking, to be able to think beyond this moment, beyond immediate gratification, and you have the power to solve a lot of problems. But those biases are defaulting you into those old tracks, and this tool will help you to see those biases and sidestep them very rapidly. So we want to understand that there's this part of our brain here that's capable of the big picture reasoning and is really the one that's kind of observing you give yourself crap or observing you get in your own way. But right now, because of how powerful this instinctive immediate gratification part of your brain is, this guy just can't get in there quickly enough to actually intervene before all the hormones start to flow and you start to have certain emotions which you have a kind of a hair trigger response to in a certain way, and that's the binge cycle. I start to think about something or experience something that's causing me stress or that makes me want to reward or celebrate, and I immediately start to release certain chemistry in my brain to drive me towards the behavior that my instinctive brain knows is going to give me that sensation of release or escape as quickly as possible. And I'm not present anymore. I'm on the train now, and I just have to kind of wait until I come to consciousness and then maybe do something differently next time, but probably not. But you're here to learn how to do something different. So when you notice any of those things, now you're on the lookout for those patterns of behavior, those things you want to see happening differently, and you notice them happening, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What am I telling myself right now? And when you hear yourself saying something about you that isn't positive or supportive, which again, right now might be 24/7, just ask yourself, what is your intention in saying that? What are you trying to achieve in saying that? Be curious, genuinely curious. Sometimes it can help to put your hand on your tummy or on your chest, just to like physically be more present with yourself. It sets an intention. It says, I'm really genuinely curious. I might be annoyed as hell with myself, and I might just be desperate to chop my head off and be rid of this. And I really want to understand. I really want to get beneath it. So allow yourself to ground yourself. Touch yourself, chest, tummy is great, and just say, what is your intention in saying that? What are you trying to achieve? Either one of those. And then, whatever answer you get, simply ask yourself, what's important about that? And then, whatever answer you get, ask again, what's important about that? And whatever answer you get, ask again, what's important about that? So we might hear something like, those people in the meeting just scoffed when I said that thing. And I'm immediately saying to myself, God, that's the stupidest thing you could ever have said. Oh my God, you're such an idiot. And I say, what is your intention in saying that? And the voice in the back of my head says, well, God, I mean, nobody's going to respect anything you say when you talk like that. And I'll say, what's important about people respecting me? And the answer will be, well, oh my God, I mean, how are you ever going to get anywhere if nobody respects you? Okay, well, what's important about me getting somewhere? Well, I mean, you want to like have all the things you want in your life, and you want to be successful, don't you? I mean, you don't want to be where you are right now for the rest of your life. Okay, well, what's important in me having those things and being successful? Well, because then you'll be happy. Okay, so hang on a second. So what you're telling me is that when you tell me that I was just a total stupid doofus and sounded like a complete idiot and everybody's judging me and I should just pack it up and go home, what you're actually really saying is you want me to be happy. And you're afraid, I'm guessing, that if people think I'm stupid, I'm not going to be able to achieve my goals and be successful and be happy. Is that right? When you're that present with yourself and you just simply follow the train of thought, the insights you gather, the self empathy that you gather as a result of those questions, when you're genuinely curious about what you really mean, about what you're really trying to accomplish with what you're saying and doing towards yourself, light bulbs go on like crazy. Flashing neon signs go on. The interconnectedness of your thoughts and your visceral awareness of what's really going on for you just exponentially grows. And self compassion ensues. You feel softer, you feel warmer, and that does not make you more vulnerable. That does not set you up to be complacent or not move forward with the things that are important to you. It allows you to have less cortisol, less stress hormone, to feel less urgent and traumatized and anxious, and instead to be able to actually breathe and reason about what really is the problem you're dealing with. Did I actually say something stupid in that meeting? Were those people even snorting or sighing or doing those things about me at all? Do I know that? How would I find out if I wanted to? And if I can think of something that I said that wasn't the most intelligent thing to say, does that mean I'm stupid with a capital S, or does that mean that I need to understand this topic better so that the next time I'm in such a meeting, I have more confidence and clarity in how I communicate? Can I do that? Yes, but not when I'm telling myself I'm a complete idiot and should give up and go home. And the same is true for you. When you automatically assume that you know exactly what's happening and you don't even bother to ask questions about why other people are doing what they're doing or why you're thinking what you're thinking, you are stuck in those biases. You are stuck believing things that almost certainly are not 100% accurate, if they're in any way accurate right now in your life. And that's why you feel doomed, despite your best intentions, to continue to behave in a way that you know is not right for you. So, I want you to identify the few things that are top of mind. I'm not saying you don't have a long list of things that you'd like to see happening differently in your life, and I'm here to help you with every single one of them. But start with two or three, the ones that really pop out. as the biggest issues, the things that you'd really like to be free from, the things that would give you the greatest happiness and peace if you could just get past. And then whenever those things are coming up, or that person comes around, or in your mind over the next couple of days, I want you to just stop. Listen to the voice in your head. Listen to what it's saying about you, what you need to do, should have done, what's wrong with you, and ask those questions. What's your intention in saying that? And what's important about that? And remember, did you see how I asked that what's important about that question? I think 3 or 4 times just then. In fact, 4 is a really good number to keep in mind. Okay? Just keep drilling down. And don't skip a step. Just because you just heard me give an answer, or maybe you assume you know what you mean, as soon as you start to skip steps and assume that you know where things are going to go, guess what's just happened? You're not driving the bus anymore. Adult you, capable of big picture thinking and real problem solving, is not in charge. Your instinctive brain has just taken this process, turned it into one of those super highways, and you're not even present in the process anymore, and you will not be successful. So stay present. That's why writing this stuff out is really helpful. Or get out your phone and record yourself talking your answers to these questions. You can put it on your notes, like you can make an audio recording in your notes, and it will transcribe it for you immediately. Whatever is easiest for you, but get it out of your head and onto paper so that you can see it, because that's where the change happens. That's where you start to have power over how you behave and how you feel and how you think. And that's what I'm here to help you figure out as quickly as possible. So try this exercise and make a comment and tell me how it went for you, okay? Take care.